Hi there, virtual participants. We're experiencing some technical difficulties. Might be a little bit delayed getting started here. Thanks for your patience. Good evening, folks. The time is now 5:31. We're going to get started on the meeting in just a few minutes. All right, good evening, folks. The time is now 5:35. I'm going to call this meeting to order. And begin by calling the roll. Folks present, please respond. Thank you. Folks present, please respond when I call your name. Speaker Fayette Tate. Majority Leader Brummer. Steering Chair Valdez. Parliamentarian Velo. Legislator Black. Legislator Druswicki. Legislator Evazai. Evazai. Legislator Lunger. Legislator Markowitz.
Present.
Thank you. Legislator Martino.
Present.
Hang on just a second. We're having a small sound issue. Legislator Mays. Legislator Masson.
Present.
Legislator Obra. Legislator Rosario.
Present.
Legislator Wesley. Legislator Wiegand. Legislator Wolf. All right, we have 11 voting members present. Quorum is met. Now move on to our land acknowledgement. We're recognized tonight that Oakland University resides on the ancestral, traditional, and contemporary lands of the Anishinaabe, known as the Three Fires Confederacy, comprised of the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi. The land was ceded in the 1807 Treaty of Detroit and makes up southeast Michigan. In recognizing the history and respecting the sovereignty of Michigan's Indian nations, Oakland University honors the heritage of Indigenous communities and their significant role in shaping the course of this region. Further, we recognize the wrongs done to those forcibly removed from their homelands and commit to fostering an environment of inclusion that is responsive to the needs of First Peoples through our words, policies, and actions. The preservation and perpetuation of customs and traditions of Indigenous nations are essential to our shared cultural heritage. A deep understanding of Native peoples past and present informs the teaching, research, and community engagement of the university in its ongoing effort to elevate the dignity of all people and serve as shared stewards of the land. Now move on to the approval of the agenda. A summary of the proposed agenda is now on the screen. I'll entertain a motion.
I don't think anyone's gonna wait. I should just go. Vote. Yeah, voice vote, yes.
We'll now move into a voice vote on approval of the agenda. All in favor, please say yay. Opposed? Motion carries. The agenda is adopted. Now move on to our guest speaker, presented by Speaker Fayette Tate.
Yeah, so this is Adi Yogananda from Michigan Advanced Data Centers. They're here to kind of talk to us about data centers in Michigan, also relating it to our data center here that is proposed to be built. And yeah, I'll just leave it to them.
Hi guys, hope you can hear me.
We can hear you fine. How are you tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to be here. How are you guys doing?
Don't think we're gonna get an answer out of everyone, but it seems like some thumbs up in the crowd here. Do you have a slide deck for us tonight, or are you just speaking verbally? Hello? Can you hear me?
They're still on the call.
All right, are you still on the call? If you're speaking, we can't hear you. No, we can't hear you. I'm sorry. Let me see if there's a problem with the sound on our end here. Legislator Rosario, can you say something on the Zoom call, please?
Testing, testing.
Okay, so I think it is on their end. Okay, they say that they're going to leave the call and come back. Apologies for the difficulties here. Hi there, we should have you back on the call. Can you hear us? No, they've disconnected again.
Hello, can you guys hear me? I'm also with Michiganders Against Data Centers.
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Okay, so Adip is asking if you guys can move forward and then he can try to jump back in when he can. He's
Can
having
you say that
issues
again,
with,
please?
he's having issues with the Zoom call. So he's gonna try to jump back in, but for now we're asking if you guys are okay with moving forward and coming back to us.
I believe we need a motion to amend the agenda.
There's a motion to,
Parliamentarian Bella, can I get your input on that, please? Okay, on that note, do we have a motion to table this item? All right, moved by Parliamentarian Bella, seconded by Speaker Fiat. All in favor, please say yay. Opposed? This item is tabled. We'll now move on to item number 6. Announcements. Are there any member announcements at this time for the good of the whole? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 7, new business, starting with line item 7A, the approval of Logan Pizzurro as Elections Commissioner, presented by President Johnson. You have the floor.
you know, this for a second. Hello all, as you know, right around now, actually, the beginning of December, but right about now, we have to approve our elections commissioner so that they might get started on the process, the timeline, and moving everything forward in that regard. I will yield the floor and leave Zorro to present to you all. Logan, feel free to come to the podium.
Before Logan begins, just a point of information. The Director of Internal Affairs has asked that we all take extra care to speak into the mics during tonight's meeting. Logan, you've got the floor.
Thank you so much. All right, thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Logan Pizzurro. I'm a computer science student here and a senior at Oakland. And I'm going to be running for the election commissioner. So like I said, I am a senior here as well. So I have seen kind of how the elections have run in the past, seen both the good and the bad, and am looking to create a very transparent and fair environment for the elections this year, giving everyone ample time to understand what's going to be on the ballots and make sure that everything is all smooth, as you know, sometimes tensions can be a little bit high during this time. So just looking to make sure everything is all fair and all that as well. In the past, I've also been the president of WXOU for 3 years, and now I also work at SPB as well. But yeah, it's
You're good? All right. We'll now move on to questions from the members for Mr. Pizzaro here. Are there any questions at this time? Seeing none, Logan, would you mind leaving the room here so we can enter discussion?
thanks so much.
Thank you. We'll now move into discussion. Just as a note, please be aware that if you talk loudly into these microphones, you may be able to be heard from the hallway. I've just learned that from experience. If there's any point of discussion, we'll open that up now. Co-Chair LaBelle.
So I just wanted to make a point rather just on the election season as a whole, but not on Logan as a candidate for this position. They seem great. They've been around for years and they seem like they would be a great person for this role. What I want to say is with the approval of the elections chair, we are like entering into the OUSC election season. And that tends to get people a little, for lack of better words, toxic. And I just want to remind everyone that it would be best to enter this period not that way. And don't ask people if they're running. Don't tell people you're running. Don't talk about it in the office. Just don't talk about it anywhere around the Oakland Center. It always becomes a problem. I've already heard several people tell me and ask me about elections and tell me they're going to run. Don't do that. That just should not be a thing. With that, I do.
Thank you, Chair LaBelle. Is there any other points of discussion? Legislator Black, you have the floor.
To that effect, and with mindfulness to the fact that we are approving Logan today, or potentially approving Logan today, I'd just like to make note of the fact that although I don't know him very well personally, I would say I know Logan by reputation to be a very cool-headed and non-confrontational sort of person who could, within their capacity as elections commissioner, maintain that sort of relatively peaceful environment that we all need this election to be, if we're being completely honest. And with that, I will yield.
Thank you, Legislator Black. President Johnson, you have the floor.
I wanted to add a couple of notes myself. I firstly do agree with everything Chairperson LaBelle presented because we have both seen it firsthand and not a single part of it is fun. Secondly, I know in previous history it's expected that the internal affairs director is the person who fills this role, but I talked with Director Van Patten and he opted not to take on this responsibility. So, and I can appreciate the notion of having someone serve as the elections commissioner who's not in a capacity beholden to me, in a sense, to help ensure the integrity and transparency of our elections process. But I did also ask Logan in the process of interviewing him about, keeping everything cool-headed, making sure people aren't, trying to push loopholes to their limits to get what they want. He's very calm under pressure, and he's very adamant about ensuring that our elections are open, that they are fair, and that they are not as convoluted as they have been in the past. With that, I'll yield the floor.
Thank you, President Johnson. We'll go next to Speaker Fayette.
Yeah, so that did get the chance to talk to Logan today. I did just like questioning and they got like
Point of information, could you speak a little closer to the mic, please?
is it working now?
Thanks.
It's like going on and off. So if it goes off, I'll just speak louder. But I got to talk to him in the hallway today. I just asked him a few questions about like like if he's read over Appendix 3, and also about like what he meant by like transparency and like what he plans to do with the position. I genuinely think that he's going to be a good candidate. So yeah, that's what I have to say.
Thank you. We'll go next to Legislator Wolf.
I think by, virtue of, Azuro's history here at the university, they possess like the dialectical virtue of both being very impassioned about the well-being and, good of the university, whilst also being quite disconnected from OSC. I do.
Thank you, Legislator Wolf. Are there any other points of discussion at this time? Going once, going twice? That will close discussion. I believe now we bring Logan back in.
Roll call vote first.
I'm sorry. All right, we will now move into a roll call vote on the approval of Logan Pizzurro as election commissioner. Speaker Fayette. Legislator Black.
Yay.
Legislator Vella.
Yay.
Legislator Druzwicki. Legislator Markowitz.
Yay.
Legislator Martino.
Yay.
Legislator Mason.
Yay.
Legislator Obra.
Yay.
Legislator Rosario.
Yay.
Legislator Westlake. Legislator Wolf. All right, vote is closed. We have 11 in favor, 0 opposed. Logan Pizzurro is approved unanimously. We're gonna have Matt here go retrieve Logan from the hallway. Congratulations, Logan. You've been approved unanimous. Next order of business will be the approval of Rose LaBelle for chair of the Student Activities Funding Board, presented by President Johnson.
Hello, everyone. As the old adage goes, third time's a charm. As you all know, former Chairperson Ludwig got an internship, which we are all very happy that she received. And she requested, and after interviewing, it was agreed upon that we would appoint her assistant chair to replace her to fill out the rest of the semester. So I, instead of yapping about it, will throw the floor to her and go from there.
Thank you very much.
If it'll work.
I think it was that one, not this. So I won't talk for long. There's not much talking to be done here. I've served in student congress since 2024, and I joined SAFB in September of last year. And since then, I've served as the assistant chair / co-chair of SAFB, and I've been trained thoroughly on how to do the job of chair, and I've been doing it for the past week. I'm just going to yield to questions. There's not much for me to say.
Thank you, Co-Chair LaBelle. Do we have any questions from the members at this time? Going twice? Seeing none, Rose, would you leave the room, please? You know how this goes.
Yeah. I've been up here for approval more times than some people have talked.
Point of information, Legislator Black, we're now in discussion for the approval of Rose for SAFB chair. I guess we'll start with Legislator Black.
Yes, I just wanted to speak to what I can personally speak to in terms of Assistant Chair LaBelle's qualification for the chair position. I know very little about the inner workings of SAFB as an organization. I will admit that. But in my flawed data set, as my roommate would put it, I have seen approving funding requests, and she's spoken to me at length about the so understands the details and nuances of it, that she would definitely be more than qualified to run the ship as it stands right now. And I would certainly trust her with this position.
Thank you, Legislator Black. Are there any other points of discussion at this time? Going once? Going twice? Do we have any on Zoom? Zoom going twice. Any points of discussion on Rose LaBelle for SAFB Chair? Seeing none, we will now proceed into a roll call vote for this approval. Beatite. Black. Bella. Kruswicki. Margowitz.
Yay.
Martino.
Yay.
Mason.
Yay.
Obra. Rosario.
Yay.
Wesley. Wolf. With that, voting is closed. We have 11 votes in favor and none in opposition, no abstentions. The vote is passed unanimously. Someone go get Rose, please. Congratulations, Rose. You've been approved unanimously. We'll now move on to line item 7C, elections for the judiciary chair. I'm sorry, this was an error on my part. Need to fix that.
Better be an error.
Well, given that legislator Lunger is not here, I don't think they're standing for election. Election of the new judiciary chair presented by Speaker Fiatete. You have the floor.
So I'll let Legislator Black mostly speak for themselves. Obviously, they served on my committee and they expressed interest pretty much as soon as I put out the interest for judiciary. So yeah, with that, I will let them speak.
Thank you, Legislator Fiatete. Legislator Black. Sorry, Speaker Fiatete. Legislator Black, you have the floor.
Testing. Given that we have time-sensitive legislation on the agenda tonight and that my opponent is the concept of leaving this position vacant, I would like to keep my remarks as brief as I can manage. As I understand it, I'm going to outline some of the key necessities of being OUSC Judiciary Chair and try to convince you that I am at least better than nothing. We'll see what comes of it. First and foremost, I would say a judiciary chair definitely needs experience, both within OUSC in general and within the judiciary committee specifically. I am the only candidate on the ballot tonight to have served on the judiciary committee. And in doing so, I have learned a lot. I've had to deal with some contentious issues that needed decisive action that I hope I have been able to help in providing. We've had a lot of insightful and productive debates and worked on numerous different reform efforts that I do, in my potential capacity as judiciary chair, hope to continue. Obviously, the judiciary chair needs to serve as an interpreter of the bylaws. I am in a admittedly pedestrian way, but still to that effect, to that extent. Familiar with the bylaws, I've read over them a number of times and made a number of suggestions and comments on Appendix 1 and Appendix 3. In interpreting the bylaws, I have been, of course, very mindful of what the document actually says, but in my capacity as judiciary chair, I do not want to tether myself to particulars, let's say. I want to be mindful of the fact that the bylaws were written in a place and time that is either here or now. Not to say that we can disregard anything. There's dialogue there that I hope to initiate as judiciary chair. To that, effect as well. The judiciary chair would need to be mindful of the precedents set by their predecessors, by their previous committee members. I have learned a lot from my predecessors who have prepared me for this position, and I want to take note of that precedent, especially given that my predecessors are in the room with me right now and help inform me on decisions and potential moves I've made if I find myself in a quagmire. But both of my predecessors disagree with me on a number of things, and I do not want to allow the judiciary committee to be tethered to this. So that's not what the USC is built to do. That's not what the judiciary. Outside of that, the fact of the matter is that the judiciary chair, is the head of a committee. Having served on that committee, I understand quite well how it works. I feel as prepared as one can be to lead the meetings, set agendas, hold my membership, which at this point is very small, given recent absences in the legislature, to account, delegate tasks, and I will happily say that if elected judiciary chair, my first action would be to send out interest forms and try to get some new members for my committee. Because I would be the first to admit that as it stands right now, the judiciary committee cannot do very much. We need to change that as soon as possible. Finally, I just want to make note of the fact that I have no delusions of grandeur. I have no desires of moving for ladder within the USC itself. You will, not to talk about the elections, you will not see me on the ballot when election season begins fairly soon. I am simply here to act within my capacity on the Judiciary Committee and hopefully soon as the Judiciary Chair to help my fabulous and incredible colleagues do their jobs more effectively, more smoothly, to help the institution as a whole run as it should, as I feel it ought to. And if I am given the privilege of being elected as Judiciary Chair, I hope to increase and systematize those efforts. And with that, I have little left to say.
Thank you, Legislator Black. At this time, it occurred to me that I did not open the floor for additional nominations, so I think now might be a good time to do that. Are there any nominations at this time? Give everyone a chance. Hearing none, I will now move into questions for Legislator Black. Are there any questions at this time? Seeing none in the room, do we have any questions on Zoom? Again, seeing none, thank you, Legislator Black. Would you please step out of the room so we can begin discussion? Just going to take a second. Start with Legislator Wolf. All right, we'll now move into discussion, beginning with Legislator Wolf. You have the floor.
Legislator Black is an incredibly insightful person. They spend a lot of time, considering things. They never, make decisions or snap judgments in haste. And I think they are an incredibly understanding and humanistic person who I think has that sort of level of introspection and, empathy that is required for such a position. But also they have upstanding, morals and ethics. And they will act firmly and with just a general sense of duty. I yield the floor.
Thank you. We'll now move on to Chair LaBelle. Okay. Chair LaBelle yields. We'll now move on to Speaker Fayette.
Hello. Okay. So I just wanted to make
It turned off. It's not, the light's not on.
hello.
I think you got
Okay,
it.
there we go. So, I just want to say a few things. Obviously, I think they spoke pretty well for themselves. So Working with them in the Judiciary Committee, they were very hardworking and gave a lot of insightful input. Additionally, when it came to interpretation of the bylaws or how we should be applying the bylaws in a certain situation, they were very considerate of like the situation and how we should go about interpreting the bylaws that would be beneficial to just OUSC in general. Additionally, um, and this is the last point I'll make, they have read the bylaws so much. Because we would read the bylaws together. So, they have probably read the bylaws more than me. And I have read the bylaws a lot. So, yeah, I'll end with that.
Thank you, Speaker Fayette. We'll now move on to Legislator Obra.
Yeah, as someone who has worked with Legislator Black on the committee, I just want to say that they would be a great candidate. They have like really valuable insights that I
Thank you. Are there any other points of discussion at this time? Seeing none in the room, are there any others on Zoom? I'll give you a couple of seconds if you want to speak. Still seeing none. Without objection, we'll move into a roll call vote as there is only one candidate. All right. Moving into a roll call vote on the election of Legislator Colin Black as Judiciary Chair. Fayette. Fayette?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
Drewswicki? Markowitz?
Yay.
Martino? Legislator Martino? We'll come back to Legislator Martino. Mason?
Yay.
Thank you. Obra?
Yeah.
Rosario?
Yay.
Wesley?
Yay.
Wolf?
Yay.
Legislator Martino, can you hear us? You do have to let call. Legislator Martino, can you hear us?
All right.
All right, nothing from Legislator
Apologies, was in the bathroom.
Okay, how do you vote on the election of Legislator Black as Judiciary Chair? Yay? Did you say yay, Legislator Martino?
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, can someone please get Legislator Black from the hall? Legislator Black, how do you vote?
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, folks, voting is closed. We have 11 votes in favor and none in opposition. Legislator Black is elected unanimously. All right, we'll now move on to item 7D. First reading of CR 6827. President Johnson, you have the floor.
Hello, all. So this is a resolution in conjunction with something going up at the Senate meeting this Thursday. There is a proposal to have the university explore creating some degrees that only require a 90 credit minimum as opposed to the standard 120 credits we're used to. This is also so that the university falls in line, I believe, with the guidelines set by our accrediting agency. I don't know if it's an agency or organization, but federal body. It's a federal body we get our accreditation from, and we're falling in line with some of the rules that they're operating with. We did have the chance to talk with the provost about this proposal the other day. She did explain that while there are some degrees that this wouldn't necessarily be appropriate for, there are some in which we could do it for. And going for 90 credits as opposed to 120 could save someone the difference of a few tens of thousands of dollars, especially in tuition and other costs. But I wanted to present a resolution to you all, hopefully for approval, so that on a Thursday we can make it known to the Senate that the student body stands in favor of this proposal. But I will yield the floor for questions, comments, or concerns, or if folks would like to be signified as supporters.
For starters, I'm scrolling through the text of the resolution on the screen. If anyone would like me to slow down, let me know. Next, if there's anyone who'd like to be added as a supporter, please raise your hand now.
Do you need edit access?
Yes, Mr. President, can I have edit access, please?
Give you edit access. I just asked you for a reason.
Yes, and I just said I'd like it.
In a snotty tone.
Exactly. I'm the chair. It's
Point
my
of
job.
information, my hand is up for a question, not to be added as a supporter at this point.
Oh, thank you. Yes, at this time, we'll take your question, Legislator Markowitz.
So President Johnson, if you could just comment on anything that the provost or anybody else that you've talked to might have mentioned as far as competitiveness of a 90 credit degree in the job market. I just want to make sure that we're not setting up students to have a degree, but maybe it's not all that desirable in the market, or maybe employers aren't valuing it in the same way that they would be valuing a degree that has the 130 or more credits required. Did you have any conversations on that, or would you be able to comment on it at all?
Folks, I'd like to let our co-sponsor here, Matthew Seidel, speak. Is that amenable to everyone in the room? Without objection, Mr. Seidel, you have the floor. In the meantime, all legislators who'd like to be added as supporters, please keep your hands raised.
Yes, there has been discussion about competitiveness in the market. So these degrees are not new. They will see right now in the state of Michigan, the private school Northwood University has started to issue them, and across the nation, we have seen them to be started to be issued from major universities such as the University of Indiana and Brigham Young University. When speaking to the faculty of the university, people who run some competitive graduate programs, such as the dean of the Oakland University William Beaumont School of Medicine, has stated that they would not consider a 90 credit degree any differently from a 120 credit degree, and they would focus on the merits of the individual's application holistically and not on the degree itself. Does that answer your question, Lance?
I'll ask a follow-up question on that then. So to clarify, what degrees would this apply to, or is it changing? Like, so I saw that it was interdisciplinary studies was one of them, but in general, like, are there certain existing degrees that the requirements will just be modified from 130 to 90, or I was a little confused on the wording because I saw that it said like all new degrees or something like that.
Okay, first, just a quick point of information. Legislator Martino, are you raising your hand to be added as a supporter, or do you have a question too?
Added as a supporter, please.
Okay, I'll now give the floor to President Johnson to answer that, followed by Mr. Seidel.
I will say the other thing the provost mentioned in our discussion was either way you slice it, an individual would be given a bachelor's degree from Oakland University. Most jobs are not going to try to dissect your degree to determine how many credits you got, because then the question becomes, what more did you learn at an 120 credit degree that you didn't learn at a 90 credit degree, which also would then speak to the ability of the university to offer said education. But to the question of specific degrees, I know it was mentioned the Bachelor's of Interdisciplinary Studies, blah, was one that I believe we discussed. Mr. Seidel could offer more context if there's one I'm forgetting, but I think it would also be something they evaluate for new degree programs that are presented at the university level. But again, there's also the acknowledgement that exemptions are needed for degrees such as, medical related degrees in certain instances or certain engineering type of degrees. Not all of them, but some. It depends on the degree itself and the rigor that the program demands. But I also know that Oakland University would be able to lead the state in setting a standard of offering 90 credit degrees, which
As
is
the first public university.
yes, as the first public university in Michigan to offer them, which is something I have wanted us to be able to do for a very long time. But I'm going to yield to Mr. Seidel to offer the gaps that I miss.
Mr. Seidel, you have the floor.
So as of now, the focus is on interdisciplinary studies as a start. However, this is just to lower the floor of what a degree could be. We could see degrees that are 100 credits, we can see degrees that are 110, we can see degrees that are still 130. It just changes the floor. The intention of this is to work directly with faculty to make sure that the degrees are appropriate, and for them to do this, they have to go through the extensive new degree development process. Importantly to mention, the university does not intend to even consider some degrees for this. Particularly the common examples are nursing and engineering, which engineering, for those who don't know, some of those programs are at 140 credits right now. And then for nursing, it is a separate accreditation for the program. So I would say that the number of degrees that will be affected will be few, but for the students that are in those programs, the benefits will be extremely high because 30 credits as of now, and will likely increase in the future, cost between $16,500 and $25,500, depending on your class standing and whether you're in state or out of state.
Thank you for the information, Mr. Seidel. Legislator Markowitz, do you have anything else to ask on this subject?
No, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions at this time? Seeing none in the room, are there any questions on Zoom still? Seeing none without objection, we'll move into a roll call vote on the passage of this resolution. Again, this is a roll call vote on the final passage of CR 6827. Beatate.
Yeah.
Black.
Yeah.
Bella.
That's Dave.
Kruswicki. Markowitz.
Yay.
Martino.
Yay.
Mason.
Yay.
Obra.
Yay.
Rosario.
Yay.
Wesley.
Yay.
Wolf. Okay, voting is closed. We have 9 votes in favor, none in opposition, and 2 abstentions. The resolution is adopted. That's the end of new business. We'll move on to item 8, old business, beginning with the second reading and potential final passage of the winter 2026 budget. President Johnson, you have the floor. Hang on. I'm sorry, Speaker Fayette.
Bring to the table, the speaker, I have.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Seconded by Parliamentarian Vella. We're going to move into a voice vote. All in favor, please say yay. Any opposed? All right, we will now bring what was item 5 to the floor. Spreadsheet. this up here. Our guest speakers ready to present?
Hello, everybody. My name is Ayat Altamimi. I'm actually going to be speaking on behalf of Adheep, who is having technical difficulties and wanted to sincerely apologize for not being able to be with everybody tonight. Um, but again, my name is Ayat. I am one of the co-founders of Michiganders Against Data Centers, and I wanted to speak to you all about the work that our group does and also about some of the details regarding the data center that is being proposed at Oakland University and the kinds of damages that it would bring onto the campus if it was allowed to be a part of your campus community. So as Michiganders
Excuse me
Against,
for just a second.
yes,
Do you have a visual aid that you need to share with us?
I do not at this time.
Okay, carry on. Sorry about that.
No, of course. Thank you for checking. So, Michiganders Against Data Centers was born out of finding out about the hyperscale data center that is being forced onto Saline Township. For those of you who don't know about that, the township actually voted against a data center and was sued by the developer Related Digital, who forced them to rezone 575 acres of open Michigan farmland for this hyperscale data center for use by Oracle and OpenAI. Um, and that is just one of, at this point, dozens of data centers that have been proposed in the state. There are well over 20 communities that are being impacted right now. Over the course of our time as a group, we have managed to connect with several of these impacted communities, including those in Allen Park, Southfield, Lyon Township, Saline Township, Lowell, Howell, amongst of the dozens of other communities that are being impacted. Our work has included being part of the Michigan Public Service Commission hearings, the Eagle hearings, the Energy and Environment and Great Lakes Commission, um, and also providing impacted communities with resources, data, information, and research for them to use in their own work as they push back against the data centers that are forcing their way onto their communities and, in your case, onto their campuses. So, um, part of what we do is to dispel the myths that many of these developers and these tech companies speak to about why these data centers would be so phenomenal for X community. Some of those fallacies include things like job creation. They start with a really high a number that puts stars in people's eyes, and then the actual number ends up being much, much lower. For example, the Stargate data center in Abilene, Texas, which is part of the Stargate network of data centers, started off with a number well into the thousands, and the reality now is that there are 57 proposed jobs. They talk about these being sources of economic booms for communities, but the reality is that there is no AI company that has turned a profit. Just last quarter, OpenAI lost billions and billions of dollars. In one quarter, they lost more money than DTE makes in a year. And DTE is also very complicit and involved in pushing for these data centers. Amongst other talking points and fallacies that they bring up is that these data centers will have no impact on people's health and no impact on air and water usage, no impact on air and water pollution. Um, as you all know, this data center is being proposed in a building or in a parking lot 37. Parking lot 37 is situated between a Native American heritage site and a biopreserve where trails have been installed. And for the first time in a very long time, the beavers have returned to their historic homeland. All of which is to say that preserving this environment as a biological preserve is already reaping so many benefits for the ecological community. Furthermore, it's also situated next to a residential hall, and as it is going to be a source of air pollution, this is going to cause a huge impact for students who are living there, particularly students who already have respiratory conditions or respiratory illnesses that they are dealing with. And furthermore, what I really want to talk about is to dispel the myth of a quote unquote sustainable data center. Frankly, there is no such thing, but one of the key talking points that they use to greenwash data centers is the idea of closed loop cooling. So, closed loop cooling is an idea that these data centers are touting as the solution to water consumption. And what it is it works on two major concepts. And I bring this up because the data center that's being proposed at OU is being proposed as a sustainable data center because of this closed loop cooling technology that they'll implement. And so what closed loop cooling is it works on two major concepts. The first is that water is circulated in a closed system. So once the water enters the system, it doesn't leave, which is supposed to reduce water loss due to evaporation. The second is the idea that you can control the water flow and the presence of complex heat exchangers and pumps so that you can allow the water temperature to be controlled in such a way that water doesn't evaporate. The reality of this is, though, that first and foremost, this water, um, by the fact that it's constantly being circulated and used over and over again, becomes hyper concentrated with pollutants. Furthermore, when they say that closed loop cooling reduces water usage, the reality is that it doesn't. It actually just shifts water usage out of the public eye. So, because of the intricate nature of these closed loop cooling systems, they actually require more power to function, which looks like thermoelectric power. And this actually can be anywhere from 10 to 40% more power required. So the majority of the power plants that power these data centers, again, they work with thermoelectric power generation, which is when you heat water to steam to generate power. And thermoelectric plants are actually one of the biggest consumers of water in the United States today. Thermal power plants themselves actually require cooling systems due to the high thermal load of power plants that they use to operate these cooling systems. And so, without any substantial evidence that suggests that there would actually be a net reduction in water consumption, uh, it is even after taking into account the extra water that's consumed at the power plant or the regulations specific to the data centers, we're actually just left with the word of the companies saying that, this isn't going to cost us any more water. It's not going to consume any more water. And so basically, they're touting a technology that doesn't have any substantial evidence to suggest that it's doing what they're saying it's going to do, which is to use less water. The reality is that it's just shifting the water use into a different area. And in fact, this area is an area that consumes even more water, up to 40% more water. And a majority of the information that these data center companies have provided related to the reduced water use is actually measuring a metric called water usage effectiveness. And what the companies tend to neglect to talk about is that water usage effectiveness source uh, doesn't take into account the consumption at the energy source. And so this information is in part sourced in a place called Green Grid, which is where most data center companies are part of. But the reality is that they're basically asking us to just trust them on technology that hasn't been substantiated, technology that doesn't have ample data to support that it does what they're saying it's going to do. And the reality is that it's just greenwashing language to allow us to accept data centers and all of their environmental harms and impacts into our communities, onto our campuses. And I really want to reiterate the fact that having a water super consumer and an air and water super polluter as a neighbor to a residential hall, as a neighbor to a biological preservation site, and as a neighbor to a Native American heritage site is not something that needs to be in any community, least of all on a college campus where students are regularly coming and going, where faculty are regularly coming and going, where people are on campus with a variety of different health needs, health concerns, different disability statuses. Having a super polluter on site is just going to exacerbate the harms that people face. It's going to exacerbate the harms that the environment faces, and it is going to it is asking us to put our trust into a technology that doesn't have any data points to really support it, and to put our trust into companies and developers that truly have demonstrated across various communities, including Saline Township, where they quite literally sued people to where they quite literally sued the township to force their way in. These companies have for truly nothing but their own bottom line. And realistically, the ultimate goal of these AI data centers is to generate internet slop. It is to maximize internet surveillance. It is to be used for various means of war making, which several of these AI companies have won contracts for, including OpenAI last summer, won a contract for $200 million to explicitly use their AI for war making. And so they're asking us to harm our health, to harm our environment, and to put our faith into technologies that don't have any real substantial backing behind them, so that they can use AI to harm children on the internet, to reduce the effectiveness of our learning in our classrooms, and to surveil us on the internet, in the streets, and wherever you may go. And so I really would like to ask and urge everybody to look into the different data center fights that are happening, to see how communities are being treated, and to please unite and come together as a united campus to reject an AI data center being placed on your campus, especially next to a place where people live, especially next to a place where the beavers have finally returned, especially next to a place that is a heritage site for Native Americans in the state of Michigan. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Point of parliamentary inquiry. Do we take questions or discussion on guest speakers?
Yeah.
All right, do we need a motion to extend discussion time?
We do, but I don't think discussion time is indicated, is it?
In your opinion, parliamentarian, has discussion time expired?
I would be. Keeping track of the 50 minutes.
Okay. Should we set a timer for, okay, 10 minutes from now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll now recognize legislator Markowitz.
First of all, thank you for being here today. I just had a couple quick questions. One, in full transparency, I work for DT, but I don't work in data centers at all. So I don't really have much of an affinity to or against. At this point, I'm still kind of in the fact-finding stages of figuring out what I believe. But my first question is, how is like your organization or company, how is it funded? And the second question is the claims that you made. Are there sources that you have? Like, do you guys have? I know I'm sure you have a website, but are there like specific like links to the claims that you were making that I'd be able to look into after the fact on like whatever studies or whatever that you were mentioning?
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, thank you for asking those questions. Those are great questions. We are not a paid organization by any means. We are actually just a group of, I guess you would call us volunteers, concerned citizens, who came together when we saw just this surge and influx of data centers being proposed in the state of Michigan. And so we came together to we bring a range of different backgrounds. So I myself, I'm currently a public health grad student. There are several engineers who are in our group, several educators. And so we really come together um, to work with communities, to provide them resources, to provide them research. And to answer your second question, we have a really large body of research, most of it based on, or all of it based on peer-reviewed articles. I say most of it based on peer-reviewed articles because the other most of it is based on uh, locally based journalism in the state of Michigan from journalists across a variety of um, uh, different publications such as Planet Detroit, local newspapers in communities like Saline and Allen Park that have been doing coverage of the data centers and sharing details that they've been learning about the different data centers and the data center developers that have been proposing to build in different communities. And so, but would be happy to provide a list of our research, our data points, the peer-reviewed articles that we reference, the public databases that we reference for this data and these informations, and would be happy to provide that however is best to get it to you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Legislator Markowitz, are you good?
Yes, thank you.
All right. We'll now go to Speaker Pietete, followed by Legislator Martino.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question that someone else had a question about, to see if you had any answer for it. They asked, what is the difference between wastewater versus cooling water, and what is the water use pollution impact like runoff?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the last part? I did not catch that.
Yeah, what is the water slash pollution impacts like runoff?
Okay, the water slash pollution impact to runoff.
Yes, like runoff.
Okay.
Runoff
Oh,
water.
like runoff. Okay, yes, of course. So the water and pollution impact of data centers, it varies based on the size of the data center, of course, based on different technologies that they employ. But these data centers generally consume uh, thousands of gallons of clean water a day, and that varies. So in some communities like Memphis, Tennessee, which has a hyperscale data center, they have estimated. A nonprofit called Protect Our Aquifer estimates that that data center could be using up to 5 million gallons of fresh water a day, coming directly from the Memphis Aquifer, which is about the size of, I believe, either Lake Ontario or Lake Superior. And so these are data centers that are using vast amounts of water. The different ways that they pollute water sources, again, that comes from a variety of ways and technologies. So the first is that water that evaporates and enters into the water cycle, that is water that contains amounts of those pollutants, water that is used and dumped into water sources is also water that is then just being directly dumped. I mean, in the same way that most industrial polluters are basically just dumping their wastewater into our clean water sources, into our lakes, our streams, our rivers, is exactly the type of thing that data centers are doing. And to address your first question about what is the difference between industrial water, wastewater, we can kind of think of water as being broken up into three different buckets. And so the first bucket is called green water, and this is water that lives inside of nature, vegetation, water that plants use. The second is blue water. Blue water is just fresh drinking water that you and I can use for things like drinking, bathing, growing our food. It's water that is used for animals and agriculture. And the final bucket of water that we can think of is a bucket of water called gray water. Gray water is water that is used for industrial means. And once that water is used, in particular in the case of AI data centers, once it's used for industrial AI data center cooling and AI data center technology, that is water that then becomes unusable and unfit for human or animal consumption. It's water that can essentially be reused for industry, but it's water that can never again, there like to my knowledge, and I've read many articles. I've yet to come across anything that I've seen that says we can reuse and clean gray water so that it can be then reused for human consumption, which means once we use it for industry, in this case, AI data center cooling, it can never be cleaned back to a state where we can drink it, where we can use it to water our crops, where we can use it to raise livestock. So essentially, it's a use it and lose it technology. It's a use it and lose it use case for our water. And so, uh, the logical next question, right, is like if we're using like if we're following the train of thought, it'd be like, okay, well, they can just keep reusing that gray water, right? In theory, yes, but in practice, that's almost never how it shakes out. Oftentimes, this contaminated gray water will end up back in our water sources, and the thought is that, oh, okay, well, if you mix it in with enough blue water, it'll, dilute the pollutants and it'll be fine. But the reality is that those are pollutants that are now ending up back in our water supply. So I really appreciate you asking that question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Speaker Fayette, do you have any further questions at this time? Do you have any further questions, Speaker Fayette?
Yeah,
Before you do, just as a point of information, we have about 2 minutes left in discussion time.
yeah, it would help to know me that it is a question of like, whether the water sources are usually, industrial or residential.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that a little bit louder?
Yeah, so the question was, are the water sources that are used, industrial or residential?
Yeah, I
Traditional,
mean,
sorry.
yeah, so are they industrial or residential? So, um, the reality of most of these data centers is that they are using the same water that you and I are using. Um, in the case, so for example, I'm very familiar with the Memphis, Tennessee case because it's a case that I study very closely for my graduate research. And so, for example, in the Memphis, Tennessee case, they are using water that comes from the Memphis aquifer. The Memphis aquifer provides the fresh drinking water for that entire region of the nation. And so um, you can think of it as like if there is any oil spill in that water, that is the entire region's clean drinking water polluted. If these AI data centers are funneling millions of gallons of water from the Memphis aquifer, that's millions of gallons of water that everyday people living in this country do not have the option to drink anymore. In the case of Michigan, that water is coming from they have proposed a variety of sources. So, in the case of the Allen Park data center, they have proposed trucking in water from these unknown sources that they claim because they haven't signed those contracts yet and they haven't, made those deals yet. But that water is going to be coming from where? It's going to be coming likely from our Great Lakes or tributaries of the Great Lakes. It's going to be coming from rivers that flow through our communities. And a lot of the times, uh, it seems like a really straightforward question and one that should be more easily answered. But the reality is that a lot of these data centers, when they enter communities, they will partner with, for example, DTE. They will partner with, in Michigan's case, DTE. In other states' cases, whatever that state's version of DTE is. They might partner with a chamber of commerce. They might partner with a few people in a city council or a mayor. Again, the scenario is a little different in every data center in every community in the state. And then they will basically force them to sign a bunch of NDAs. And so something that I would really encourage all of you to look into, and I will drop a link to it, but in the case of Celine, the data center contracts that are publicly available are literally blocks of redacted text, just pages and pages and pages of redactions. And so, it should be easy enough to answer a question like, where is this water going to be coming from? But the reality is that they hide it all in pages of redactions, making it virtually impossible for communities to figure out what is happening in their community. And furthermore, oftentimes to build these data centers, they go through a process of dewatering, which means that if there are ponds, if there are lakes, if there are streams, they are draining them and then building over them. And so there are several communities that have lost, in the case of, again, in the case of Saline, there was a river or a stream that was named by the indigenous community, and yet the contracts about the site continue to refer to it as a unnamed stream that they are going to be building over. There are wetland communities that are very much impacted by this. Either they are built over or they are drained or they are then polluted by the dirty water that's being generated at any point in the construction process or that are being polluted in the actual process of the data center being up and running. And so what should be a really straightforward answer is often purposely shrouded in a lot of secrecy and in a lot of redacted contracts. But at the end of the day, we can, follow the train of thought all the way through it and see that where else is our water, our fresh water coming from? The Great Lakes account for over 20% of our planet's, not just the nation, but like our planet's freshwater supply. And so as Michiganders, it's really crucial that we be stewards of the Great Lakes, not just for ourselves, not just for the nation, but quite literally for the entire planet.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. As a point of order, we have our time for discussion has expired. I'll entertain a motion to extend discussion if folks are interested. Hearing none, let's see if there is a motion on Zoom. Again, hearing no motion, that will close discussion on item 5. Thank you for your time and for presenting to us tonight.
Thank you all so much for having me. It's really been a pleasure to meet with you all.
Okay, we'll now move on to item 8A, the second reading and potential passage of the winter 2026 budget. President Johnson, you have the floor.
Thank you. Okay, I went through the really long presentation last time, so I'll go through the cliff notes now, start with compensation. The compensation does not look different. I did lower an hour or two in certain places, but that was mainly because with the addition of let me talk a little louder this thing. With the addition of the classroom and engagement chairperson, I had to kind of add some hours for that individual without going over the 40% threshold we usually go through. Could you scroll down to the bottom for me? Changed. Yes. Chairperson LaBelle has informed me that a few positions within the SAFB section have been changed. What?
Here, let's give the floor to the chair to let us know what those are.
Yeah, absolutely. Really quick, the Director of Operations has been renamed to the Director of Audits because that's what it was originally. And the Director of Marketing has been renamed to the Director of Design because that description more aptly describes what that job is.
Thank you, Chair LaBelle. We'll give it back to President Johnson.
All right, if you scroll down to the legislative section, as you can see, we are still budgeting for legislators to get 5 hours a week this semester. I know it's been a long time coming, but we are here. I believe the speaker I've kept at 16, majority leader at 8. Yeah, the only one I believe that was changed was the commuter support chair went to 6, but again, that was only because I needed to make a little space for the new chairperson position so that they could at least get 5. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns about the compensation plan? Alrighty, could you go to the finance section? Now, the only major, start at the executive office. So the major change here, as you can see, is some funding set aside for the Meadowbrook Ball. This one I wanted to chat with you all about. I've had the chance to talk with Advisor Miller about it, former chairperson Ludwig and current chairperson LaBelle, as well as the chair of the Meadowbrook Ball Committee. And I know that every year there presents an issue with SAFB giving funds to the Meadowbrook Ball, and every year it becomes a whole rigmarole. So the offer I have proposed is to allow OUSC to donate instead of having SAFB to deal with it, because in my view, they have about a 500,000 other things to worry about than this specific event. And I'll let Chairperson LaBelle speak to that if she'd like to. But I know we have less red tape when it comes to us helping out with events as they do. So I figured it might be easier on them if we just took that on this semester. Plus, when I talked with Advisor Miller, there was a concern about setting a precedent of just funding events for clubs. But given that this is an event that the university has had going on since I think the 70s, and Advisor Miller, correct me if I'm wrong about that number, I felt it kind of aligns with what OUSC has contributed to in the past. But that is the main thing for the executive office. Did you want to add to what I said, Chairperson LaBelle, before I moved on?
Sure. So yeah, to add a little bit of context as to why SAFB doesn't particularly want to fund the Meadowbrook Ball, in our bylaws and in our policy, it states that we cannot fund events that require students to pay to attend, and that exact thing is what the Meadowbrook Ball is. You have to pay to attend. I believe it's like $35 a ticket this year. And essentially for the past couple of years, we have said no, and then a presidential override has overridden our decision and we funded it anyway, which I believe this is a much better solution and will save us a lot of time, effort, and mental energy. With that, I yield.
And I will say, I did tell the chair of the Meadowbrook Ball Committee that should we be the ones giving this donation, I would like to discuss a giveaway of a certain amount of tickets to students for free to make the event accessible, as well as sending a person or two from our camp to aid in the planning of the ball, just so that we can better coordinate our obligations on that end. Did anyone have anything on that point before I moved on? Okay, cool. Next, Internal Affairs, Director Van Patten, did you want to present your budget? Oh, he's here. He's here. Make sure your mic is on. Per your request.
Okay. Yes, so I basically just took what the original fall budget for Director of Internal Affairs. It seemed to work just fine. I don't think I spent all that was allotted to the Director of Internal Affairs last semester. So I'm assuming that we probably won't need any more than this. We already need new name tags, and we already know what office supplies we need. So I think all of these, I think from my knowledge, this will be all that the DIA needs in order to provide for the office. Is there any questions on that? Or any suggestions of what we may or may not need? Please.
All right, Chair LaBelle, you have the floor.
Do you think with the amount of paper that we have to order that we need more allocated towards DIA or no? I'm not sure, so I wanted to
I
ask
did
you.
just put in an order for a lot of paper the other day.
Yeah, let it be known, I was putting in an order for a good amount of reams of paper, but then President Johnson notified me that we had.
I think I ordered about 10 reams this go round. I think yes.
Burn through that in what, a week?
Probably. All right, for the financial affairs budget for this one, I listed all of our mandatory allocations. I felt it necessary to kind of consolidate them into one spot, since that's the office that would usually handle them through donations and whatnot. Last time I presented it, I think I had $500 for the GSE. Oh, did I lower that? Could you put that at 1,000? Sorry.
Which,
For the GSE donation. I had a chance to talk with Blake, and I informed him that that was the number we were looking at on the allocated part here, please. And he said that that number was fine. And then, I think last time we had a whole debate and settled on 1150 for the pantry. The elections fund, as we are required to donate toward the farm, which, by the way, I have learned the wall for the farm came in. They are picking it up tomorrow. And the dining hall kit initiative, which would likely be, because I believe years ago, and this is just my assumption, because this was before me, We put in a provision in the bylaws that requires us to fund for reusable dining kit. And I don't know what's been done with that as of late. My intention is if it is something we pursue, should we not edit the bylaws to get rid of it, then I will probably see if that's something we can do in collaboration with either housing or the pantry, one of the two. Could you scroll down a little? The only thing that has changed under student advocacy is nothing. Actually, everything's the same there. And I did confirm that the drag show donation of $2,000 is a good number. So I'm happy to see that. Did you have a question, Chairperson Liddell?
I had a question slash a comment.
Go for it.
Yeah, I wanted to just have a general question about what people would think about increasing that to 2,500 because I have heard murmurs and talkings of that Sage having less sponsors than last year, as well as last year the SAFB funding was 3,500 and now it's 2,500. And of course Sage also does many other events, so I think it would be prudent if Student Congress were able to provide more. In the past, I think the biggest donation before COVID I've seen was 3,000. But somebody please correct me if I'm wrong.
I am not opposed to increasing our current allocated donation. Like I said, the number I have in there is based on the conversation I had with Blake last week, but many things could have changed between then and now. Is someone proposing this as a friendly amendment? I'm willing to accept it as one if someone's wanting to make that as a proposal.
Legislator Obro?
I'd like to oppose the friendly amendment to salary to two.
I will say, it looked like Lance had a question. I was going to let him ask it first.
Legislator Markowitz, you have the floor.
So I would be against that friendly amendment only for the reason that I proposed $500 or $600 for food for a student panel event this year. And when I talked to President Johnson, he mentioned that since we don't know our exact allocation yet, that he wanted to wait until February just to make sure that we have enough money for everything. And so I would think that if I have to wait on 500, 600, very similar amount for that event, that it would probably make sense to wait for this event too before adding it. I, of course, would be more than in favor of giving them more money, but just so there's some consistency in the process where we promote, or not promote, but fund events. With that, I yield.
Yes. Oh, yeah, thank you for reminding me about that, Legislator Markowitz, because I meant to text you about that a little bit ago. I was going to tell you earlier that I totally forgot to, and this one is entirely on me, my apologies. We can input it into the budget for now. I'd like to wait until February to see if we're going to spend that actual amount. But I've since decided we can put it in if Speaker Fayette is amenable to adding it to her part of the budget, because I would not like to impose it upon her without her desire. But yeah, we can have it in the budget for now, but I'd like to wait till February before we actually act on spending said funds. The same with all of it, because we get our SAF then, and I'm hoping it'll be very kind.
Point of information, I take back everything I said. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Could you add $500 to the JSC, to the Sage
Is the
Show?
friendly amendment been formally made?
Yes, it has been formally made, and I have accepted it. If you scroll to executive platform, the only things on here are some funding for OU Day at the Capitol, which is going to be very fun this year, by the way. I hope you all come. And some events with the AAUP. I did talk to Amy Pollard, and unfortunately, they are not doing the labor panel this year. However, they are doing an event of, I think it's a Labor Day of Solidarity, and they are happy to work with us on collaborating on that. I told her there'd be a few people here who'd be interested in that, so if you are interested, let me know so that I can send you her way. But I wanted to include just a general set of funds so that we had something in there to put toward that. And I will yield the floor to Director Demond to present the sustainability budget.
Do that Hey everyone, okay. I'll just go through this pretty quick. The Shark Tank, 7,000, we done 5,000 for the proposal. Speaking with Chris Reed on that and, Professor Mojan Rajahi about that, that was their idea, and I just wanted to make sure that everything was funded through us to make sure that it is covered. Green spaces, that is put there just in case, we can do a garden or outdoor space. Mostly it's for the rain barrels at the Native American Heritage Site to make sure they have a water source. I've not heard back from them yet, but hopefully we can do that. Bug related event, I think with PCO and Dr. Jameson, we'd like to do a little honey tasting and explain what to do with their bees and why they're important. And also Bugs on Wheels, which is a little arthropod friendly. You get to hold little bugs. Pretty straightforward. Sustainable products, either utensils, straws, stuff like that at the OC. Repair cafe, same as every year. Data center information flyers, an event to make sure everyone knows what's going on there. OUSC recycling bin stickers to state that we funded that. Earth Day Fest, an event, and then Live Owl animal event.
I forgot we're doing the owl
Yes.
again. That's really exciting. Alrighty, if you scroll down under marketing, all we have is just some money to handle any print things we need and things of that sort. And then I will yield the floor to Speaker Fayette to handle legislative initiatives.
Hello again. Yeah, so, we basically just have our task forces, nothing has really changed besides the false spikeball tournament prizes that I added today and the 600 that's going for, I forgot the name of it, which I'm going to ask. That's it.
Yeah, Legislative Markowitz, would you like to offer what the name of the line item is?
I just texted you.
But I'll add that after I'm done speaking. Essentially nothing has changed. We have voice committees and meet the reps obviously. So we can fund that for this semester. And yeah, if anybody has any questions, I'd be willing to take them. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Quick point of information. So, for clarification, the $600, I sent you the name, Val, but it's going to be for the student panel. It's going to be to pay for food for probably about 50, 60 faculty and students that participate. And then the fall spike ball tournament prizes are just from the previous tournament that we hosted with the Round Net Club and the Society of Hispanic Professionals in Engineering. And we had initially allocated $500 in the fall for that. It has carried over to the winter because we were going to order all of the jerseys, which are what the prizes are, together in one order. And so that's why we're ordering it now. And it's now just $300 instead of $500. And in full transparency, so nobody cancels me, one of these jerseys is going to me. I'm sorry, I'm good at spike ball. Please leave me a note. I yield.
We will be discussing that later, Legislative Markowitz. For now, are there any questions, comments, or concerns on the budget as proposed? If not, I will yield my time to the chair.
Thank you, President Johnson. Are there any points of discussion at this time? Seeing none, we will move into a roll call vote on the passage of the winter 2026 budget. Beatate.
Yeah.
Black.
Yeah.
Fella.
Yay.
Druzwicki. Markowitz.
Yay.
Martino.
Yay.
Mason.
Yay.
Oprah.
Yay.
Rosario.
Yay.
Wesley.
Yeah.
Wolf. That the voting is closed. We have 11 in favor, no opposed. The budget is passed unanimously.
Woo, budget.
We can all get paid now.
All right, next item on the agenda is 8B, second reading and potential passage of CB 6825, presented by Speaker Fayette Tate. You can get started. I'm going to need a second to get this bill pulled up on the screen.
Okay. You're all good. So essentially, I only made one adjustment, based on the concerns, brought up during the last meeting, which were, concerns about, the judiciary chair, whoever that may be, kind of like accepting these conditions or, applying, these conditions for, exemptions. So I added 4(1)(f) for, that says an exemption shall be granted under the following circumstances. One, a medical or mental health circumstance, or circumstances, academic or professional obligations. Three, family emergency or family emergencies or caretaking responsibilities. Four, personal circumstances of comparable seriousness. Five, any other valid circumstances that prevent a member of the legislature from clocking in their minimum hours.
Point of information, did you mean to add a number 2 before the word academic there?
Maybe. So yeah, and essentially I did the same thing for the executive, as well. Obviously, just to make it fair, as we do the absences, well, I say we, former and current judiciary chairs, take in consideration the executive board as well. So just to be fair, I added it there as well, even though since we have to abide by state law and, university, regulations, it would be done anyway, but just in case the chair doesn't know, it is there now. So yeah, I will yield to any question.
Are there any questions at this time? Chair LaBelle.
The only reason why I'm speaking on this now is because I wasn't at the last meeting to speak on it then. With saying this in as little words as possible, if I had this when I was judiciary chair, my life would have been so much easier. This is a wonderful bill, and even though I can't vote, I'm happy to vocalize my support. With that, I yield.
Legislator Black, you have the floor.
As the new and from now on acting judiciary chair, thank you all very much once again. I concur that this is very much going to make my job easier, so far as I understand it. And with that, I yield. Please, actually, can I say one more thing?
Yes, you can.
I do intend to grant any exemption that I can grant in good conscience based on this, should it pass. I want to be lenient in the ways that people who've expressed concerns about the nature of this bill have asked that we be. But at the same time, I do intend to stick to the fundamental purpose of the bill, and why I support it so much, why my name is on the thing, that we all need to be putting in our part to this organization, and there needs to be some amount of institutional infrastructure to hold us to account. With that, I actually do apologies.
10 minutes late.
Thank you, Legislator Black. Is there any other point of discussion? Sorry, gonna have to get used to saying chair for you. Motion's been made. Do we have a second? Is it without objection, we'll move into a roll call vote on final passage of CB 6825.
Oh. It's so wonderful that we had that right there.
Haven't been recognized by the chair, Mr. President. Fayette Tate.
Yeah.
Black.
Yeah.
Bella.
Yeah.
Druzwicki. Markowitz.
Yay.
Martino. Legislator Martino.
Yay.
Mason,
Yay.
Cobra,
Yay.
Rosario,
Yay.
Wesley. Wolf. That voting is closed. 11 votes in favor, none in opposition, and no abstentions. The bill is passed unanimously. That is our last item of old business on the agenda tonight. We'll now move on to discussion. Are there any points of discussion from members at this time? Nothing in the room. Do we have any points of discussion from the Zoom participants? Seeing none, we'll now move on to item 10, legislative updates, beginning with the speaker.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it pretty short. My first week as speaker, obviously I tabled for BrizFest. It was really awesome. I was there with President Johnson and now interim Vice President Lizecki, as well as Legislator Rosario. It was really cool. Got to talk to a lot of people, got a lot of people interested in OUSD. I know I have about like 7 people I'm emailing right now to become legislators. So that's huge for OUSD. Additionally, I have been kind of like talking with other legislators, trying to like gauge like what they want to do. And I haven't gotten any like good answers, but there are still a ton of other people I can reach out to. So I mean, I guess I'll just leave it off with please reach out to me if you have something that you want to do. I will help you make a bill to put it in the budget now that the budget has passed. And yeah, that is it.
Thank you, Speaker Piatate. We'll now move on to 10B, legislative leadership updates. Newly elected Chair Black.
Almost point of information, legislative leadership is me, correct? I am a legislative leader.
Correct.
Excellent. I do have an update in the Slack. You will find 2 messages saying, not in so many words, please join the judiciary. You can message me privately via Slack and open a discussion with me about that. My email is linked on my Slack profile. I check it more than is probably healthy throughout the day, so almost certainly I will get back to you faster that way. If you see me while I am out and about, you can reach out to me in person, but as I had said in my speech, it's tough out there for the judiciary committee right now. Legislator Oakland, as it stands, is my only non-ex officio colleague. We need membership, and interested folks can speak to me one-on-one. With that, I yield.
Legislator Wolf, I think you'll need to wait till section D for questions.
She's next. Oh, he is what the project's.
Well, are there any other legislative leaders who have reports to give? Seeing none, now we'll move to legislative initiative updates, beginning with Legislator Wolf.
Sorry for that.
It's okay.
Thoughts have been knocked from my head. Oh yes, I'm confident by the end of the week that we'll have all the medical product dispensers filled or at least checked to make sure they are currently filled. So if anyone wants to help with that, either packing them or just going around to fill them, or while you're on the way to class, you can take a key and just open and check them, and you can report back to like anyone. But yeah, I'm hoping that we'll all get started and everyone will pull their weight. I yield.
All right, thank you, Legislator Wolf. Are there any other legislative project and initiative updates at this time? Seeing none in the room, are there any on Zoom at this time? Parliamentarian Vella.
Hi, I should have raised this during legislative updates. I think I have the bill finalized for updating the speaking rights, voting rights, all that stuff for all the different kinds of people that participate in meetings. Differences between like liaisons, advisors, people on the executive board. So I'm hoping to get that next week. So keep an eye out for that.
Thank you, Parliamentarian Vella. At this time, are there any other legislative project and initiative updates? Seeing none, we'll now move to questions and legislative updates. Are there any questions at this time? Seeing none in the room, are there any on Zoom? Seeing none, we'll now move on to liaison reports. Are there any liaisons present to give a report tonight? Legislator Obra, you have the floor.
Speaking as the Sage liaison, and seeing as we just passed the budget that allocated $2,500 to the drag show, I would like to speak on where that money will be going. We had a meeting with Blake last week discussing on what items will be funded by the GSC and which will be funded by Sage. To my knowledge, Sage will be covering sound and lighting, which costs around $5,000, and the GSC will be covering performers and some other things that I can't remember right now. But we have a meeting with SAB later this week to discuss funding. Any additional funding for decorations and other items in that category will have to be funded through co-sponsors. With that, I yield.
Thank you, Legislator Ober. Are there any other liaison reports at this time? Seeing none in the room, are there any from virtual participants? Seeing none, we'll now move on to item 11, executive reports, starting with the president. Mr. President, you have the floor.
Thank you. Okay, what are the main things I wanted to cover? As mentioned, I got to go to Grizz Fest with Speaker Fayette today. It's always nice seeing people show up there, especially the Grizz, when I poke into the hallway to see who actually is dressing up at the Grizz as the Grizz this year. I don't think I'm supposed to know who it is, but I'm nosy, so let's yeah. A few reminders that I want to keep you all apprised of. Please make sure you are swiping in. And I know we just passed a bill covering the minimum amount of hours you're required to swipe in, but I don't think any of us would like to incur the wrath of Jen Yetter if you do not swipe in and do not fill out your timesheets. Because I don't think y'all know this, but when you don't do that, she emails me, and I get scared. And I don't want to get scared of getting emails from Jen at OSI, because she's also decided if you do not swipe in, she will not be hunting you down and spending 2 hours to create a thing for you to get paid. We have also, Interim VP Lasecki and I, it was a very daunting process, more so them than I, but we spent some time to code everyone's timesheets into her master sheet. So whenever you fill it out, it automatically goes to the sheet she inputs payroll into. So if you don't fill out your timesheet, you will not get paid. So please make sure you are swiping in your minimum amount of hours and that you're filling out your timesheets. I beg of you, people. Next, what were the other things I wanted to cover today? I mentioned we got to sit with the provost a little while ago at the first meeting of the Provost's Advisory Council, which was actually a very fun thing to do. I mean, I've met with the provost a bunch of times, but it's always nice giving other people the opportunity to do so she doesn't have to listen to me yap all of the time. I will say it is very heartening to have a provost that's very dedicated to the student experience and to students. I think through my looking, almost every time she's presented me with an idea to get a resolution passed by Congress, we usually do almost unanimously every time, which in my view shows she's very committed to our success. And I'm very pleased that we have these opportunities to engage with her. The only things I think to make sure that we are reminded of, next week is MLK Day, so we will not be having a general body meeting. I believe the Keeper of the Dream ceremony is also happening on Monday, so if you are on campus, come by and check it out. It's always a fun event. And oh, what was the other thing I wanted to say? I'm blanking on it at this precise moment, but I think I'm gonna remember it later. If I do, I'll speak to it then. With that, I will yield the floor to the chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. You're so modest to not mention that you'll be receiving an award at the Keeper of the
Looking for the
Dream ceremony.
attention. I just wanted to
I know, but it's still noteworthy that one of our own is getting an award like this.
Thank you. Now keep it going.
All right. I will try and keep my report pretty brief. You folks all know me. I'm LJ Lasecki. I'm now the interim vice president, following the resignation of Nia Matthews, last month. I'm happy to be here. And I look forward to working with you in this new capacity, and I appreciate your patience as I sort of gain a footing for this new position. This is my first time chairing, and I've really enjoyed the experience. As part of it, I've carried out a couple of facelifts to the agenda. You may have seen that I changed the formatting a bit. A couple of things that I figured would make it a little bit easier to read and follow when I created a slideshow that's been on the screen here in the same style to hopefully allow people to better keep track of what we're doing and just generally make the whole process of our meetings look more professional. I served on in the inaugural meeting of the Provost Student Advisory Council. It was really more of a getting to know you session, building the relationships that we'll use to advocate for the students' needs with the provost. I'm trying to think of what else I've done. It's been such a crazy week getting back from the heat pipe repairs that it's hard to fully recall everything that I did.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think that's all I've got to report today. I'll now yield to executive board reports, starting with Chair Lavelle.
Thank you very much. As you all know, I have just been approved as SAFB chair. Yeah. So I was in the office working until about 9 p.m. last night in order to finalize the all of our stats and charts for the fall semester requests. I also
Don't
finished up
do
some
it.
of those requests.
I know what you're about. Don't.
I'm just saying the stats. I'm just saying the stats. So our stats for last semester, we had 8% of requests returned, 23% of requests denied, and 67% requests approved. And a lot of those denied requests also were then resubmitted as new requests and then later approved. So I believe the approval staff a little bit lower than we're used to in the past couple semesters. I see that as a good thing because we've been a little bit harsher, and that's quite frankly very much needed. With that being said, we are also, of course, hiring a new e-board because at the moment it's just me and Tuba. I love Tuba. I wish she could be here. If you know anybody that is looking for a job, we are currently hiring for a co-chair / assistant chair, director of audits, director of outreach, and director of design. So if any of your guys' friends want a job, tell them to apply. All of the postings are on Handshake as of today. So yeah, with that I yield.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair Lavelle. Are there any other executive officers who'd like to give a report tonight? Zach, you got anything?
No.
I'll take the typing as a no. Let the record reflect that everybody's a comedian. With no other reports, we'll now move on to questions on executive reports. Legislator Wolf, lead us off, please.
Is the spreadsheet that you were using today's meeting, was that derived from the one I showed you?
It took some inspiration from yours.
I am honored. I feel like there's real progress being made. I love the spreadsheet. I love the chips, smart chips.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you for your contribution to this. I'm glad that it worked out because I know that in the past roll call votes really dragged out the time of our meetings more, and I'm glad that this worked out to speed things up a little bit, just saving a few minutes here and there so we can spend more time debating the issues, you know.
I remembered what I was going to say.
Mr. President, you have the floor.
Thank you. I remembered what I forgot to say earlier. After conversing with Interim VP Lasecki and Speaker Fayette, I made the decision to let former Director Nazaria Jackson go from the position as Marketing Director, and I have posted the position on Handshake. Should you know anyone who would like to fill it, please invite them to apply. That was what I forgot. I will now you.
On that note, we are also looking to hire a new finance director for our previous director, Sam Young, has graduated. Are there
So much turnaround happening everywhere? It's so fun.
Yeah, you just gotta roll with the punches. Are there any more questions at this time related to executive board reports? Legislator Oberon.
Can we get more information on why the former director of marketing was let go?
Mr. President?
Yes. Personally, after reviewing her job performance and her engagement with others within the organization, I personally developed a feeling of I just didn't feel that things were meshing well, and I was getting the vibe that there were some growing frustrations about that. But I also wanted to make sure I was not the only person involved in that decision, so I presented it to the speaker and the VP, and we were all in agreement that it might be the best fit for OUSC if we move forward this semester without her. She was very kind in acknowledging that, it was probably the right decision and whatnot. So there's no animosity there. It's more of what the organization needs versus what she was able to give. And I felt it was probably best for all of us if we just count your blessings, cut your losses, and follow the yellow brick road. Oh, come on. For reference, the vice president just made a 6-7 joke.
Because you did it first.
I did not. I yield the floor now.
Are there any other questions related to executive boards at this time? Seeing none in the room, are there any on Zoom? Seeing none, we'll now move on to the advisors report. Jean Ann, do you have anything for us tonight? All right, you have the floor.
Make sure that microphone's on.
Sounds like it's on.
Sounds on, just tap the top. Yeah, you're good.
A couple things, when I apologize for being late, we had a student organization training and obviously, and I got into the writing after it was over with, but we had 33 new presidents and treasurers, so that's excellent. I just want to wish everyone a happy new year and welcome back. It's been a long time since seeing everybody, and I'm so glad that the seating system is fixed and hopefully will stay fixed. I do have a concern that I'd like to address to Congress, and I'm not positively sure who can address it from here. But as I was on campus yesterday, I've been on campus all beyond that, but yesterday in particular, as well as today coming in to come to work, the parking lot and sidewalks are in hazardous conditions. I do not understand, and I don't know if maybe you already addressed it, but I do not understand with why it's so hazardous, and I was just wondering if there's anyone in Congress that can address that with facilities.
Yeah, I was going to say I was walking home last night because I left about a half hour before Chairperson LaBelle here. And the amount of times I was walking on my tiptoes because of all the ice that was down there, it was insane. My initial plan was, had it not been addressed before I came in today, I was going to make a very angry phone call to facilities maintenance. But it seemed that on my way here, at least, a lot of the ice had been fixed. But I'll let Chairperson LaBelle discuss from her experience. But my intention was to reach out to both VP Mackey at Finance and Administration, since he was already emailing me about something. And I'm going to CC whoever runs maintenance and grounds to make sure we're having a more consistent timeline of when we're laying down salt compared to when it was snowing, because, yeah,
So many people on campus.
yeah.
defending Some of the access to the arena, even though the
Mhm.
but in and out of this building and other locations. And
Yeah, it
and
was
this morning, it was like tiptoeing.
insane.
And he won that, and I've just never seen it in this kind of condition.
And I think as I was leaving last night, there was a student org letting out at the same time, and I was watching their people have to tiptoe into the parking lot. P2 actually was pretty bad as well. But I'm going to send an email to VP Mackey and maintenance just to make sure we have a more consistent timeline. I cannot guarantee results from that because that depends on how much they're willing to listen to me. But I did notice it, and I was going to email them tomorrow about it. But I thank you for bringing it up as well. But I'll yield to Chairperson Nicole.
Chair Lavelle, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I wanted to thank Advisor Miller for bringing that up because the sidewalk conditions and the road conditions on campus were absolutely terrible over the weekend. As all of you know, I walk with a cane most days. I have very bad arthritis. I can't walk well most days. And I left around 9 o'clock last night and I fell way too many times and it was incredibly hazardous, especially because I live in Hillcrest. The entire campus is on a hill, and I happened to be going down that hill. It was very unfortunate. Just and this is a very common theme I've noticed. I've never seen it as bad as yesterday, but this is a very common theme with the university that on weekends they just don't care to salt the sidewalks. And that's incredibly hazardous, not just for disabled students like myself, but also just for everyone who wants to slip on ice. That's terrible. Since my freshman year, I've lived on campus, and every single year, consistently, during the winters, on the weekends, the sidewalks are so iced over. I have a very distinct memory of walking down the stairs near Hamlin and falling the entire way down the stairs. Like this should not be happening at all. With that, I yield.
Now there is a new policy on the weekends that the residence hall students are no longer eating in the Oakland Center. And that particularly Hillcrest students have to go all the way over to Canada. That it makes it also equally as hazardous.
Thank you, Chair Lavelle. We'll now move on to Speaker Fayette.
If it'll work, there's.
Okay. I was just gonna say that I live at the MV Nicholson apartment, and if any of you have been near the MV Nicholson apartments, you would know that every single apartment has stairs that lead up to the doorways.
Right.
And I believe only a few of them have rails. And let me just say, the stairs were frozen. It was almost impossible to walk up them. I decided to walk next to the stairs and just like lift my leg up and like avoid the stairs completely because it was all ice. So if the university, if we can contact Mackey, I think that would be beneficial. It just like at least express the concern. Because that definitely I watched people fall outside my apartment. So
I was going to say the other thing I would add on to that is what I will also probably do is reach out to RLA to see if other resident students have been communicating similar things, because it might be easier if I reached out to him with them as opposed to two different people reaching out with the same point, because I know they too also reach out to the university about these things. So I'm going to reach out to them as well to see how many people have also issued the same complaint. And I'll see if I can just CC them on the email that I send to him. But with that, I will.
Yeah, I just have one thing in that is the fact that I want to thank, if any of you, if you went to the game yesterday, it was an incredible amount of people that were there in a very short time of getting individuals there, but I want to thank everyone for doing so, because we had to look really good at ESPN too. And I also want to remind you that on Thursday night, we have OU night at 5 p.m. We still have some tickets left. There's availability on the bus. And there's also an opportunity for those students that are riding the bus, that 15 students will be picked to have a special dinner at the beer garden with potentially Piston alumni, people that work there that are also alumni of Oakland University. You get a free sweatshirt and you get to go on the court. So I would not pass that up because it's a good opportunity. More coach busing, they'll do the driving for you. No parking, no concerns along those lines. You'll have grand time. So please consider that as well. And I appreciate you listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Advisor Miller. Are there any other questions related to Advisor Miller's report at this time? Seeing none in person, are there any on the Zoom? Again, seeing none, we'll now move on to item 12. Comments from the gallery. Are there any members of the gallery who'd like to speak? Please come up to the microphone, state your name, and then the floor is yours.
Hello, so I was just wondering, so I remember last year there used to be a Mindful Mondays event that you guys had. Are you guys still continuing doing that?
President Johnson?
I will talk with the speaker about if we'd like to do it again, but I recall last year, and part of the reason we weren't able to do much of it this year is there was just a severe lack of engagement with it. And I believe this semester, well, last semester, the speaker and I had both collectively agreed to focus our attentions elsewhere. But I had not had the opportunity to talk with Speaker Fayette about it to get her thoughts. So I will do so and be able to give you a much better answer soon. It's not an impossibility. We just kind of decided because we weren't getting much engagement last time to do something else this go round.
Here. Would you? And before you leave, can you come up here, give us your email so we can follow up?
Please.
Okay, yeah.
Cool. Do you have a pen handy, Marcus? I'll just have them write it on here. Chair Lavelle, you have the floor.
Yeah, I did want to say, to my knowledge, and somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, the rec runs an event very similar to Mindful Monday.
They do.
And I know in the past we had collaborated with them when former Speaker Allen was in office a million years ago. And then the year after that, we had some issues trying to collaborate with them, which kind of drove the issue of lack of attendance, lack of participation in running the event. So that's something to keep in mind if you're talking about starting Mindful Mondays, that the rec does already do something similar. With that, you.
Thank you, Chair Lavelle. Are there any other comments from the members? And do you have anything else for us tonight?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you for taking the time out of your night to join us here. Next up, announcements. Are there any more announcements for the good of the whole tonight from members? I did ask you to remind me. Seeing none, I do have a quick announcement from Matt Seidel, who co-sponsored the resolution earlier. He's hoping to get some students to attend the University Senate meeting on Thursday in support of the resolution that we just passed and the related reduced credit degree program proposal that will be debated. That meeting will take place at 3:15 p.m. on Thursday, I believe, at the ballrooms on the second floor. But we'll communicate more precise details between now and then. I'm just checking to see if he wanted anything else announced. I think that is all. Any other announcements? Hearing none, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn. Do we have a motion? So moved. Seconded by Speaker Fayette. We'll move into a voice vote. All in favor, please say yay. Any opposed? Student Congress stands adjourned. Good night, everybody.
Okay, fine, you want that far off.